Alright guys, TouchGribbit here, and Luminosity Gaming are your CWL Fort Worth champions. I bet a lot of you didn't think I'd be saying that at the start of the weekend. What a performance from these guys. They finally get another chip, I guess you could say, on the board. FormaL wins his first one since all the way back at Infinite Warfare Champs, well, a couple of years ago now on that OpTic Gaming Dynasty roster, of course. Finally gets another win. Slacked becomes the first player, I think, to win a championship in every single game all the way since Black Ops 3. So, well, if you want to talk underrated, we can have that discussion at a future date. But anyway, let's get into exactly what happened on this Sunday. Luminosity come up with the victory. What a crazy performance, what a run from them. And the event overall was fantastic. I thought it was, well run. There wasn't any technical issues or anything like that, barely that I noticed. I thought the crowd was fantastic overall. They were rooting for, the different teams. It wasn't just OpTic Gaming. The final was pretty hype as well. And it was a crazy event in terms of competition. I did not know who was going to be making those losers bracket runs all the way through, but it ended up being Luminosity versus Splyce, which of course is a very legendary grand finals matchup. You remember back in Infinite Warfare Stage 1 playoffs, Splyce versus LG. Then I think it was the Anaheim after that was also Splyce versus LG. Same matchup at CWL Birmingham last year in the grand finals. So these guys have always matched up in the grand finals. Different rosters, of course, this time around, but it always makes for an entertaining one. And the grand finals was pretty damn good as well. So let's get into all the action here. Like if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. And let's scroll down a tad. So these are all the groups, of course, as they turned out. These are the bracket play, and these were the matches. So firstly, we have Enigma 6 versus 100 Thieves. This was super interesting, right? Because Enigma 6 went down 2-0. They got smoked the first couple maps. Well, actually, they went down 1-0, and then they went down 5-1 in the Search and Destroy. And then Priester, for whatever reason, became ill or sick. Like, he threw up on stage. Like, he obviously wasn't well. And Enable did a funny tweet about, like, I was, should I watch this way or that way? And then Priester's throwing up next to me, like, do I help him? Like, what exactly do I do? So anyway, they had to pause the game at 5-1. Priester went off to hospital. Supposedly he's perfectly fine now. No idea what was wrong with him. Of course, accusations have been thrown around, but we're not going to get into any of that. So he went into hospital. Apparently he's fine. And Pharaoh, of course, had to sub in because he's technically their substitute on this roster. And, well, they dropped him for Priester. So it kind of makes sense, at least. That's the guy he gets to sub in for. But this team really doesn't work with him because Priester just adds the kind of pace that is just unmatched. And yeah, I didn't think 100 Thieves looked anywhere near as good with him in the squad. Of course, there's no time to practice. Pharaoh actually did relatively well, I thought, for the situation that he was handed. Given he's just been sitting on the bench and collecting salary, he hasn't really been playing Call of Duty a lot. I think he's been playing League of Legends and stuff like that. So anyway, he had to get on stage and play this one. Enable is really left out to dry as the SMG player when you've got Pharaoh on the team. And also, it doesn't make Kenny look as good. I think with that extra aggression from Priester, it really helps Kenny come into his own, as he has done this event, improved a lot in terms of overall statistics. We'll probably look at the best players at Fort Worth in a couple of days' time. But they end up closing that out 3-1. So Enigma 6 go out of the tournament in top 6. And then Red versus Reciprocity. Red have always got the better of their European brethren over the years, but Dylan Codman is something else. Reciprocity win the first hardpoint, and then Red answer back with the search. Now, usually if Red win the map 2 search, they're pretty much on good track to win the entire series. But this time, Reciprocity answer back. They had a really clutch control map, which really is the swing game mode a lot of times, I feel, in these series, especially when they go the distance. Reciprocity won that one. Of course, Reciprocity were never going to win a series 3-1 and make it easy. So Red won the frequency hardpoint all the way to a map 5, and Dylan Codman, he is the difference maker here between Rec being a team that, well, couldn't really beat Red Reserve to one that definitely can, and they deal with Red Reserve here, moving on to a top 4 placing. Red go out top 6, and we'll talk about exactly what happened to Bance and what he was tweeting about in a couple of seconds here. So then we have 100 Thieves versus Reciprocity. Now, Reciprocity dealt with business here pretty comfortably. I think that Sorg duo of Zed and Dylan was just unmatched, especially when they didn't really have another Sorg on the other side. Like, Enable was having to do it solo, and that's never going to work. So don't want to read too much into that series. Very unfortunate situation for 100 Thieves, because I really thought they could have mixed it up with the very best teams here if they didn't have that unfortunate situation. But it is what it is. Reciprocity move on to top 3 in the tournament, which is the highest ever LAN placing for Shawnee, Wuskin, Dylan, of course, and Zed. Tommy has, of course, made finals before, but yeah, those guys all eclipsed their best international placing, which was at Anaheim last year in World War II under that Nieuwland squad. So then of course we have winners finals, LG versus Splyce. Now Splyce beat them 3-1 in the groups. This time LG deal with business. Gunless and John particularly crushed it this series. Of course we do have to talk to some degree about the Rampart meta that Classic has introduced. According to JP, he had something like a 0.8 with the Maddox in hand in respawns. Then he pulls out the Rampart and he's up to like a 1.2, 1.3, something ridiculous like that. Definitely performing a lot better with that weapon in hand, and it really seems to suit his playstyle. It's a really interesting weapon, like killer once again ahead of the meta, I guess, because the Maddox and the Rampart are very different weapons, even though it effectively replaces one of your Maddox roles. But what's really good about it is it does so much damage. It does something crazy like 46 damage a shot. So if you hit someone twice, then they're basically very, very weak for whatever other weapon that some of your teammates may have, a Sorg or a Maddox or something like that. So it's really good as like a suppression weapon. It also does kill very quickly as well. It's kind of awkward. It's not a do-it-all gun like the Maddox is, and it doesn't have stock or quick draw or anything like that. So you have to be slow with it. But it seems like Classic has really made it work, and it can go alongside an ICR player and kind of be the best of both worlds in that regards. But the only map LG lost here was the control. I think they got reverse swept in the control, like within the control map. So Splyce did very well for that one. And then map number 4, it was just the John and Gunless show, I think, completely taken over that game. And yeah, Gunless does it again, man. Arguably, well, I'm going to say he's the best player in the game right now. The stats he was putting up this tournament, yeah, Octane had better stats overall. Octane was also spectacular this tournament. But winning tournaments and being the best player on your team should also be something you take into consideration when you're thinking about the best players in the world. So I'm going to give it to Gunless right now. He was fantastic this series. Then, of course, Splyce went down to losers to face a really hot Reciprocity, who came out swinging, went up 2-0. I thought this is going to be crazy. Like, they're going to go all the way to the grand finals. What the hell will Reciprocity be able to do, considering they lost in the very first round to Enigma 6 and they went all the way through losers here against UYU, GenG, you know, all these game 5s, man. But they end up getting reverse swept by Splyce. They go to a game 5 and a couple of rounds that didn't go their way that probably would have done earlier on. But think of all the game 5s they won, especially that game 5 against GenG, right, where they made that 5-2 comeback right at the end to even continue on their tournament run. So, yeah, I mean, they had a lucky turn of affairs, I guess you could say. Disappointing, of course, to lose to Splyce in the fashion they did, but definitely a very impressive run from Reciprocity, given it's their very first tournament with Dylan CoD on the team. I was super impressed with them. I was happy to root for them because they're really likeable guys. And yeah, it's a shame they couldn't do any better than third, but definitely much better than I was expecting of this team. Let's put it that way going into this event. Then we have the grand finals. LG go up 1-0, then they go up 2-0 on that Arsenal search and destroy, I believe. And yeah, it was a very difficult one for Splyce, considering they had a 5v3 to try and hold on to close out the round right at the end there, but they didn't manage to do it. LG closes out 2-0. Map 3, Temp just went off. He got 3 war machines. I think it was the most damage in any CWL match so far this year. Something like 8,500. Absolutely ridiculous. Then it goes into map number 4, and Splyce were coming up significantly in this one. It looked like they were going to be able to take it, but in a very similar series dynamic to the winners bracket final, LG managed to come back and take this one. Slacked and Classic were the real MVPs of the final, to be honest, right here, because Gunless didn't have the best of series, but as you'll see in just a second, overall he was a monster, of course, this tournament, and he was a well-deserved MVP. Just to look briefly at the open bracket matches here, FaZe Clan Black ended up winning it. Celium was a real revelation this tournament for them. Mindfreak come in second, so these are the results and these are the prize purses that these teams do get, which happened, you know, just before the action really kicked off. Do want to say congratulations to Sergeant in my Discord for winning the predictions competition. Going to get some prize out to him in the next couple of days or so. I'll advertise it once again if you guys want to join in when the next tournament rolls around, if we can put it together, because of course it's going to be London and I'll be there, and Rattlesnake, who does all this great stuff, will probably, I think he's also coming. So it's going to be a difficult one for us to put that together, but I thought I'd say congrats. I don't know exactly the scores or whatever, but he did very well. So these are stats according to CoD Stats GG. Hardpoint record 7 in 5, 6 in 3 S&D, and control was spectacular once again. And these are the overall stats. Just look at this. Gunless with a 1.3 adjusted KD overall. Slacked was actually second place. FormaL had a relatively solid event, but not spectacular. Gunless is just the man. And yeah, I talked about before this tournament the fact that if John could really be that X factor, then LG can be really good. And I thought John played like well, very well at times, but it really does seem right here that Slacked was just having a monster event. And yeah, incredibly impressive from Luminosity. I'm just amazed. All this talk about them making a roster change and they might need it. They started 0-4 in the Pro League, and within a month, they're the best team in the game. Well, I mean, you probably have to say they're the best team in the game right now on current form, right? So yeah, that was just incredible. The fact they ever made a roster change, they've, you know, Ricky as coach, I'm sure has had some sort of impact. Going back to basics, I guess. And yeah, Slack comes out swinging this event. Classic only has a .96 AKD, but he was using the Rampart to great effect. And when you've got a guy like Gunness on your team, probably one of the most talented players in the game of all time, definitely one of the best players that I've ever seen play the game, it's tough to lose. So following the tournament, we have an interesting couple of tweets to go through here. Bans tweets, free agent hit me up. Now after this, he tweeted a couple of other things about like, this is not bait, like this is being legit, like we need to get something sorted. But he seems to have deleted those tweets. I'm a little bit intrigued. Now, what's interesting about this is that Red Reserve cannot like drop a player because there's still cross-divisional play in the next couple of weeks. We have a week off now, and then the next 2 weeks we have cross-divisional play. So Division A teams and Division B teams play against each other, each like against each other once, right? And there's no roster changes until after that has occurred. So they do have a substitute Red Reserve in Shocks if they wanted to bring him in for bans, but that's effectively the only change that they could make. Unless there are some rumours going around on Reddit that potentially G2 have bought out Red Reserve, because of course Red Reserve have had these monetary issues, and JT or Decimate tweeted this out, honey I'm home. Now, you know, what exactly does that mean? Maybe he's on a team, maybe he's got something figured out. Potentially GT might have bought out Red Reserve and are getting rid of Bance and putting in Decimate. I don't know if that's legit, quite possibly not. I'm not sure that would really go along with the rules or whatever the situation may be, but I guess if MLG allow it, then it's possible, right? Also have this from OpTic Gaming. It does seem like Damon Karma Barlow is going to be taking over the War Machine role and giving the Ruin, giving the Grav Slam and that over to TJ. So wonder what you guys think about that in the comment section below. So to finish with, this is the schedule for the cross-divisional play in the next couple of weeks. I'll just leave it on screen. If you guys want to pause it and have a look at it in more detail, then you can feel free to do just that. But yeah, the teams are playing cross-divisionally. Luminosity's first match is going to be up against Team Envious, and they're playing Accelerate, then they're playing E United, they're playing Heretic. So pretty much every team plays a match every single day right here, and then they've got 4 teams for both divisions, and then we switch it up and we have the other teams. So OpTic Gaming are playing Enigma 6, then Denial, then Splyce, then 100 Thieves. So that should be a hell of a matchup. And yeah, maybe OpTic Gaming can bounce back. We'll have to see how cross-divisional play goes, because there's a lot of matches to play here, and well, it should be a very interesting one. And then the roster change period follows shortly after these matches conclude. So hope you guys enjoyed. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Leave all your thoughts down below on this tournament. Were you impressed with Luminosity? Can they keep it up going forward? Will OpTic Gaming bounce back at CWL London? I'm going to be there. Hopefully you guys are going to be there too. It should be a fun one. Cross-divisional play is going to be good as well. How many roster changes will we see going from April the 5th? So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time.
Just don't die. Just don't.
I think I'm dead. I'm alive.
Pushing Showers now. Showers dead.
Oh, you the streaks. You good streaks. You good streaks. Oh, use the streaks. Use the streaks. Yeah, there we go. There. Oh my
Bitches,
god.
man.
You just got cooked?
Bitches.
Oh no, he caught in the drone squad. I'm not mad. He tried to cook because Brian came on top.
Too easy, man. This is actually my first decent round with this thing. Boom.
Yeah, you're pretty shit with it.
Boom.
Boom.
You meant to say it for the last one as well, Aaron.
Yeah, true. My bad.